Some of the things that inspire me the most are documents of the early church. When I want to be set on fire, I go and look for scrolls of early Christians. The kind of Christianity they had, it will take a revival for us to experience that kind of Christianity anymore. You know, in the early church, they don't celebrate birthdays because your birth means nothing. They are interested in knowing how you died. Because these guys were not interested in how you came. They want to know how you exited. What is the witness you left for your generation? And so the way they honored men, it's in how they died. And so these men gloried in suffering. They gloried in tribulation. They gloried in pains. They gloried in witnessing for God. In fact, the Bible said in Acts chapter 15 verse 26, it said Paul and Barnabas. It said, these be the men that hazarded their lives for the gospel. Now, the gospel we are teaching now is the gospel of self-preservation, self-security, self-aggrandizement, and self-glorification. That's why we don't have power. In the early church, they were willing to die any day, anytime. In fact, they called it a gain. To die is gain. That's how they reason. But the only reason they are able to operate like that is because they found a peace that surpasses knowledge. And that peace is the river of God. And so you will arrest a Peter that you want to kill him, and you will think he will beg. And Peter will tell you, please, when you crucify me, don't put my head up. I don't want to be like my master. He said, when you crucify me, turn it downward. I'm not qualified to be placed where my master was placed. How can somebody be arrested to be murdered? And instead of praying to God to save him, he will not. I heard the story of Jan Hus. Him and his son were to be born to the stake. And a night before that time, the soldiers came to them and they found them celebrating. You and your only son is about to be born tomorrow. If it's our contemporary world, what you'll be thinking of doing is, God, if you will not deliver me, at least let my son escape. I don't want my name to end. The people were celebrating, and what the soldiers heard them say was that tomorrow we will set Rome on fire. They thought they wanted to burn them. Meanwhile, they said they will set Rome on fire. And when they wanted to burn the man, he didn't beg. What he said was that, today you have born one goose. He said 100 years later, there will be a swarm of geese. That means this one man you are killing today, the witness he will generate will become 100 men in the years to come. And according to his prophecy, 100 years later, Martin Luther rose. Because they don't die. Their witness is eternal. And the reason they have that kind of witness is because they have a peace that you can't take from them. I read about Polycarp, the bishop of Smyrna. They came to arrest him, to kill him. He was 86 years old. An old man should look for where to rest. And they told him, this is a way for you to escape. He said, no. I've done every other thing I should do for my master. This is the only witness that is remaining. And when they arrested him, they came. He said, no, they shouldn't worry. He will go with them. Sit down. He entertained them. When they finished eating, he said, let's go. And when they carried him away, they told him to deny Jesus. They will leave him. He said, 86 years, he has been faithful to me. How can I deny him? And when they butchered them, they were singing hymns to the God of Zion. What kind of assurance is that? That's why Paul said, if only in this life we have hope, we are of all men most miserable. There are many Christians today, they think they are doing well, they are miserable because they are afraid of death. They have not found that assurance that is stronger than death. But when you enter the presence of God, there's a river that flows into your spirit. It makes you become like Mount Zion that cannot be moved. I read the story of Perpetua and Felicity. Pregnant princess was about to be killed. And they said the child is innocent. So they gave her 3 months to give birth. In 3 months, she didn't plan to escape. In 3 months, she was waiting for the day where she too will be honored enough to be a martyr. Because they saw martyrdom as the greatest honor in the kingdom. That's why James 1:12 said, even if we were beheaded, he said we will receive the crown of life. So to them, martyrdom was an honor. What kind of peace is that? It is a peace that surpasses knowledge. It's a peace that surpasses understanding. And this was the texture of witness that the early church brought. And true to what the people said, it was not a bluff. 3 days after she gave birth, they brought them to the arena naked. Do you know the pains a woman feels after giving birth? She is literally full of injuries. There was no time to recover. And they were carrying wild lions, beasts. They say you have one choice: to deny Jesus and go free. If it's our word now, we'll say we are intelligent. We'll say we'll deny him and ask for forgiveness later. Because God is a forgiving God. Because that's the kind of forgiveness we were taught. Somebody met me and said, even if I fornicate today, God will forgive me. He doesn't know the judge. He only knows the Father. He doesn't know the judge. That God is a just recompense. Every action and every witness has a reward in Zion. These men were more concerned of eternity. That's why Paul said, our light afflictions are for a moment. Do you know what Paul called a light affliction? Is to be flogged 39 strokes 4 times. That's a light affliction to Paul. Is to be stoned to death and to rise up. Is to be imprisoned 3 times. That's a light affliction. Why did he call it a light affliction? He said they work for us an exceeding weight of glory. Why? He said, why we look not at the things which are seen, but the things which are not seen. He said the things which are seen, they are temporal. That means the prison is temporal. The embarrassment is temporal. The 39 stroke is temporal. There was a time Paul fell into the water. And Paul was in the ocean for 1.5 days. They forgot him. They thought he would die. Paul said, 1.5 days I was in the deep. But when they brought him out, the man had become aquatic. He can't die. And they tore these women apart with white beasts. You would think the church would be afraid. But when they hear that those ones did not deny Jesus, their faith is strengthened. So the reason the gospel came to you and I is not because of theologians. It's because of martyrs. Men that know peace that cannot be defined. Peace that cannot be explained. This kind of peace, you are not taught it. You experience it as a river in the presence of God. The generation we have today that does not know the presence of God, they will deny Jesus 1,001 times. That's why people are denying Jesus on their job. Say, I'm a police officer. If I don't bring the bribe, I will lose my job. And so what? What is your job compared to eternity? Somebody comes and tells you, I don't have anything to eat. That's why I became a harlot. You are not a Christian. You were not taught correctly. Go and find out about the early church. It was an honor to be hungry for Jesus. The Bible said when the disciples were beaten, he said they returned to their company and they were giving thanks to God that they have been found worthy to be flogged for Jesus. All we know is in our brain. We are not witnesses. And it's because we've not drunk of that water. The Bible said there's a river that flows from the throne of God. It said the streams, it maketh glad the city of God. There's a joy that surpasses knowledge. It is in the presence that you are introduced into that economy. That's where you will no longer bother what men say. Jesus said, blessed art thou when men persecute you for my name's sake. Because a blessing is not only a car. A blessing can also be persecution. If you understand reality from Zion. But for you to call it a blessing, you must have drunk of that water. There's a water that is served to those who come to the present. That's why they become like Mount Zion that cannot be moved. I fear for our generation. Intelligent, full of lingo and drama and charisma, but there is no stamina in the presence.